An inspiring act of kindness, a hidden millionaire discovered after 12 years of fear and isolation, in the heart of Walker, a town where Midwestern pride ran deep. Whispers erupted over a rumor that could shake them all. A hidden millionaire was making waves, channeling money into the very fabric of their community. The truth, however, was far more poignant and heart-wrenching. The tale belonged to Jack Morrison, a once thriving entrepreneur turned humble mechanic, navigating a life shaped by profound loss and a gnawing sense of isolation. Jack Morrison's days revolved around his modest garage, the clanking of metal mingling with soft barks from Max, a golden retriever who understood the weight of sorrow and silence. For 12 years, Jack had lived in a world that felt like a shadow of his former self, a place where laughter once danced through their home, now only echoes of memory surrounded him. Each day, the pain of losing his family wrapped tightly around his chest, making it hard to breathe. As the annual community fair approached, the air thickened with excitement, balloons and laughter swirling among the townsfolk. Jack observed the joy around him, wondering how a community could be united in celebration while he felt so alone in his grief. The fair was a stark reminder of both the abundance and the burdens that weighed many families down. Conversations turned to desperate whispers about who could help and who wouldn't. Jack wished he could step in, yet his empty pockets mocked him. One late evening, as the sun dipped low and shadows danced over the landscape, Jack learned that a local charity was seeking funds for those in desperate need. A flicker of hope sparked within him, urging him to channel his past riches into something greater. Yet, fear coiled around him like a vine. His failing workshop was a reminder that Jack Morrison, the millionaire, was now just a mechanic, clinging to a ghost of a dream. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Over the course of several weeks, he began to siphon small amounts from his savings, money meant for repairs, for food. He whispered hopes into envelopes, turning wheelbarrows of despair into baskets filled with food and joy. Each act of kindness was like a bandage on his wounded heart, transforming him from an outsider to a silent benefactor. Townsfolk spoke in awe of a mysterious donor, their eyes sparkling with wonder. Yet Jack's joy danced hand in hand with fear, dreading the day someone might connect the dots. Just days before the fair, the town learned that sweet old Mrs. Thompson was in dire straits, her beloved family struggling against the tide of life. This news sent shockwaves through Walker, igniting an urgency that pulled Jack toward a decision he dreaded. Could he reveal himself as the man behind the donations? Would they see a man willing to rise from the ashes, or would shame drag him back into darkness? As the fair dawned, laughter filled the air, but undercurrents of judgment swirled amidst the crowd. Would Jack find his place in this fractured community once more, or was he destined to remain an enigma, haunted by the specter of his past? Holding Max close, Jack took a deep breath, standing on the precipice of truth against a backdrop of murmurs and hope. The future hung in the balance, and he felt its weight pressing down, leaving him to grapple with a question that loomed larger than life itself. Could he reclaim the bonds of friendship, or was he forever branded by what he had lost? As the sun rose on the day of the fair, the air buzzed with anticipation. Jack stood in front of his garage, Max at his side, watching a string of cars roll into Walker. Families poured from their vehicles, smiles painted across faces brightened by the prospect of festivities. For Jack, the scene was a bittersweet reminder of what he had once been: part of the laughter, a contributor to the joy, not just a shadow lurking at its edges. With shaky hands, he rolled his sleeves up, hoping the morning warmth would ease the cold knot in his stomach. Every honk and cheer echoed the whispers in his mind, warning him of the looming choice ahead. He glanced at Max, whose tail wagged with innocent enthusiasm. The dog's hopeful presence gave Jack the strength he needed, a flicker of warmth in a looming coldness of doubt. A few townspeople recognized him as he stood there, their eyes filled with uncertainty. Jack offered a half-hearted wave, the weight of their gazes heavy on his heart. He wondered if they sensed the dichotomy of his existence, the man they once knew, the man he could be now, caught between shame and altruism. As the fair opened, laughter erupted around him. Children darted past, clutching cotton candy larger than their heads, their joy infectious. Yet for Jack, it was a reminder of the happiness he had lost. He spotted Mrs. Thompson, her frail frame surrounded by her grandkids. They were giggling, but Jack could see the worry etched in her eyes. The urgency of her situation clawed at him, spurring him to confront his fears. With each minute that ticked by, Jack felt the call of his past life pressing against him. Could he stand idly by while families struggled? Did he have the courage to expose his generosity and reclaim his place in the hearts of these people? The answer was no clearer than the clouds overhead, which threatened rain. His feet moved before his mind could catch up. One step, then another, leading him into the throng of the fair. Here he was, just a man with a dog, yet new hope began to swell in his chest. As he approached the crowd, snippets of conversation fluttered around him. Words of gratitude for the anonymous donor flowed like sweet music. Jack allowed himself to imagine a world where he could breathe again, where kindness could rebuild the connections he had lost. Before he could second-guess himself, he wove through the crowd until he reached the center of the fairgrounds. There, a colorful banner proclaimed community unity. Jack took a deep breath, the warm scent of popcorn and funnel cakes swirling with his spinning thoughts. Just as he prepared to step to the microphone set up for announcements, his heart raced. This was it. The moment of truth. But then he hesitated. Would they welcome him back or cast him aside, holding tight to judgment? His mind raced, the noise of the fair fading away as he faced his inner battle. A voice in his heart urged him to step into the light, to claim his past and reshape his future. He spotted Mrs. Thompson again, her smile stronger now thanks to those who had stepped in to help. Her family was thriving, and all of it was from the goodwill spread throughout Walker. Could he sacrifice his own fear for the greater good? Before he could turn back, he reached for the microphone. The weight of his decision hung heavy in the air, each breath a prayer for courage. And as he began to speak, he realized that reclaiming the past might also mean letting go of it for something much brighter ahead. The crowd hushed, eyes drawn to him like bees to honey. But what would they really think when they learned the truth about their hidden millionaire? Would he find acceptance, or would he face rejection and worse, heartbreak once more? Jack's heart raced as he gripped the microphone, his fingers trembling. He had practiced for this moment countless times in the mirror, yet the words felt foreign, tangled in his throat. The vibrant sounds of the fair started to blur, replaced by the thunderous beat of his own pulse. Hello, everyone," he stammered, his voice wavering. The crowd leaned in, and he could feel their anticipation hanging in the air like the pungent aroma of fried treats. I know things have been difficult lately. I've seen people struggling, and it hurts to see this community in pain." He searched their faces, a mix of curiosity and skepticism reflecting back at him. There were mothers cradling their children, men crossing their arms and shifting their weight. He took a deep breath. It was now or never. Some of you may have heard about a hidden benefactor who has been supporting families anonymously, helping with bills, groceries, and even medical costs. Jack forced himself to lock eyes with Mrs. Thompson, who watched intently, her face a mix of support and concern. "Well, that person is me." A gasp rippled through the crowd, the murmurs rising and swirling like the autumn leaves caught in a sudden gust of wind. Jack could see the surprise transforming into astonishment, and then he hoped into something warmer. His face burned with a mixture of shame and exhilaration. "I did this because, well, I've been living in the shadows for too long. I pushed away the people I care about, all because I was afraid of what you might think of me. The truth is, I wasn't just hiding my wealth, I was hiding from myself, from the connections that mean the most." Courage surged through him. The words began to flow, breaking through damned emotions. "I want to help Walker. I want to be a part of this community again. I miss the laughter, the friendships. You all deserve to know me, the real me." The silence that followed was deafening. Only Max's soft bark broke through, a grounding reminder of the loyalty Jack had in his corner. Then, a voice called out from the back. "Why didn't you say something sooner?" It was a young woman, her frustration palpable. Jack's heart sank, but it was the truth he had feared. "I was afraid of judgment," he admitted. "Afraid you'd see me for my past, not my potential." "But I let us not focus on the fear," Mrs. Thompson interjected, her warm smile illuminating the heaviness in Jack's chest. "You've done an amazing thing, Jack. We're thankful, truly. Now let us help you feel at home again." A wave of emotion washed over the gathering. One by one, people began to nod, smiles slowly breaking through the initial shock. Jack felt the knot in his stomach begin to loosen. Faces softened, and a sense of hope hung in the air, but just as acceptance felt near, tension flickered through the crowd. A tall man stepped forward, arms crossed defiantly. "We've thrived without you, Jack. Some folks don't take kindly to someone coming in and playing hero." Jack's chest tightened again. This was the moment he dreaded, the doubt that could sever the fragile connections he longed to rebuild. "I understand," he said, his voice steady despite the swirling storm of emotions. "I don't want to overshadow anyone. I just want to stand beside you all as a friend, not a savior." A flicker of uncertainty passed through the crowd, and Jack wondered if his plea would have enough strength to bridge the gap his absence had created. Would his journey back into the light be one of acceptance or rejection? Before he could wrestle with the silence, he felt Max nuzzle his leg, a gentle reminder of unconditional love. With a deep breath, Jack prepared for the next words that could change everything. How would they respond to his future offers, to his desire to truly be a part of Walker once more? Jack watched as the tall man's stance shifted slightly, arms uncrossing just a fraction. His sharp words hung in the air, heavy with doubt, yet this small movement hinted at something deeper, a question lingering beneath the surface. Other faces in the crowd mirrored a mixture of skepticism and curiosity, just like his own. "I get it," the tall man continued, his voice softer now. "You've got a lot of explaining to do. So tell us, why now? Why come back when we've managed?" Jack felt the weight of his heart pressing against his ribs. The crowd, previously murmuring with a sense of hope, now leaned toward mistrust again. How could he truly convey the depths of his journey, the battles fought in solitude? And yet, this was it, this was the moment that could either keep him in the shadows or pull him into the light. "I'm not here to take credit or ask for forgiveness," Jack said, trying to find the right words. "I thought living in the background would protect you all from my past. But the truth is, I've realized that I can't hide from my past anymore. I need to face it and, more importantly, be part of helping this community again." The young woman who had spoken before crossed her arms, but the tension in her brow softened. "You say you want to help, what can you really offer?" "Money isn't everything, you know." That was a punch to the gut, but Jack knew she was right. It wasn't just about the money. He needed to prove his intentions, to show everyone he could be trusted. "I want to share my resources with you, sure. But more than that, I want to show up. Be present. Organize community events, support local businesses, volunteer where help is needed. I want to engage, to listen," Jack said, his voice gaining momentum. "I want to learn from you all, too. I want to understand your struggles and your victories." Jack watched the expressions of the crowd transform, just a touch. Nods started to emerge, lingering glances exchanged between neighbors. He felt alive now, not just speaking to them but building a bridge. Mrs. Thompson stepped forward again, her presence like a comforting blanket. "Jack means well, and I believe he is sincere. We all know our fair share of struggles, and he is just offering to share the load. We shouldn't turn away helping hands." The tall man hesitated, his shoulders relaxing just a fraction more. "What if we give you a chance? But it won't be easy. Trust takes time, and some are still hurt. Trust isn't given, it's earned, Jack replied. I'm ready to earn it. The crowd began to shift, the tense energy easing as conversations sparked between them. Jack could hardly believe the transformation happening before his eyes. Max, sensing the change, barked with excitement, and a nervous laugh escaped Jack's lips. Maybe hope was contagious after all, but just then, a loud crash echoed across the fairgrounds, shattering the fragile moment. Everyone turned to see a booth collapse under the weight of a runaway roller coaster cart, people rushing to help. Anxiety swelled again, faces turning pale. Jack felt a sudden urge to act. Let us go, he shouted, pushing through the crowd, Max rushing at his side. He had no idea what would unfold, but in that instant, a determined fire ignited within him. Was this the beginning of his redemption? Would he be able to stand with them, not just as a benefactor but as a genuine partner in their struggles? As he reached the fallen booth, he caught a glimpse of a familiar face through the chaos. A child's terrified eyes met his, looking for comfort amid the turmoil. Can Jack provide that comfort and help heal the community further? Jack's heart raced as he dashed through the commotion, the air heavy with shouts and the smell of panic. The dust settled slowly, but his focus was sharp on the child. She stood frozen, clutching a stuffed bear to her chest, eyes wide with confusion and fear. Everything else faded, the noise, the mundanity of adult worries, until all that mattered was bringing her safety. Hey there, he crouched down, offering a warm smile, though his insides were churning. It's okay. I'm here to help. He extended his hand, a gesture that felt both foreign and instinctual. The child blinked, uncertainty swirling in those blue eyes. Slowly, she inched forward, and Jack felt his heart swell. He could see her trembling, the way her tiny fingers gripped the bear tightly as if it was a lifeline. Can you tell me your name? Jack asked softly, keeping his voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. Amy, she whispered. Jack's heart sank at the tremor in her voice but also filled with determination. Amy, you're so brave. We're going to get everyone out of here and make sure everyone is safe. Let us find your parents together, okay? As if on cue, a frantic woman stumbled into Jack's line of sight, her eyes darting around the crowd. Relief flickered over her features, but it quickly morphed into fear when she saw the booth's wreckage. Jack's legs itched to run to her, but he couldn't abandon Amy. Look, there's your mom, he said, pointing. Amy's gaze followed, and without another word, she dashed into the throng, dodging feet and debris. Jack felt a rush of satisfaction, knowing he'd been able to push past his own fears, even if just a little. He stood there a moment, catching his breath, absorbing the aftermath of the crash. People were already working together, offering hands, shoveling debris, and shouting for help. The community he had struggled to connect with was now moving as one. Then he spotted Mrs. Thompson nearby, directing volunteers. Jack! Over here! She called, her voice cutting through the din. Jack rushed toward her, fueled by an impulse to contribute. What can I do? He asked, scanning the mess that had unfolded. Help lift the booth. We need to get a few more people out from underneath it. Jack nodded and joined a group of volunteers, their determination palpable. They gripped the booth's edges and lifted, straining against the weight. Just as they managed to raise it high enough, a faint cry emerged from beneath. A man, visibly shaken but unharmed, crawled out. The crowd erupted in cheers, but Jack's attention was drawn to a group of kids on the fringe, whispering among themselves. A dark shadow had passed over their faces, reminiscent of Amy's fear. He stepped back from the lifting crew, glancing around. Hey! Everyone! Can I have your attention for a second? The crowd turned, curious. I know it's scary right now, but I want you to remember something. Each of us is strong. We support each other. If you need help, ask for it. I'm here. We can get through this together. With those words, Jack felt a warmth blossom in his chest as tentative smiles broke out. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As the sirens wailed in the distance, the crowd began to settle, focusing on what lay ahead. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was a turning point, not just for him but for everyone. He would not allow fear to dictate his path anymore. Instead, he felt hope radiate in the faces around him, forging a collective resilience that encouraged him. He couldn't wait for the chance to share his past, to show them there was light beyond the shadows. But just as he contemplated his next steps, a voice rang out, an unmistakable voice he hadn't heard in years. "Jack? Is that really you?" His heart jolted as he turned, the world spinning with possibilities. Who was calling him, and what would they reveal? Jack's heart raced in his chest. The voice was familiar, yet the years had altered it, layered it with a hesitation that weighed heavily in the air. He spun around, the chaotic scene invisible as all his attention honed in on the source. Standing a few paces away was Melissa, her eyes wide, shimmering with the sheen of unshed tears. The last time they crossed paths, the world had felt different, lighter. But now, her worn clothes and scuffed shoes told a different, darker story. "Melissa?" Jack managed, his throat suddenly dry. Memories rushed back, laughter, shared dreams, plans unfulfilled. 1,000 questions tumbled in his mind. What had happened to her? "Jack," she said, taking a step closer, the affection in her gaze tinged with disbelief. "I can't believe it's really you." He saw the slight tremor in her hands and instinctively took a step forward, closing the distance. "What are you doing here? Are you okay? Are you hurt?" His voice carried the urgency of someone who had long feared he might never speak to her again. "No," she shook her head, eyes darting toward the booth wreckage. "I was just. I didn't know what to do when it happened." Jack's heart sank. "You were at the booth? What if I had been?" She hesitated, swallowing hard. "What if I didn't make it out? I thought I would never see you again." The emotion in her voice struck Jack like a tidal wave. They had shared so much joy, but pain had lingered too. "But you're here now. You're safe." Her face softened slightly, but the shadows beneath her eyes told tales of sleepless nights. "I've been searching, hoping. Things got really hard after you left. I didn't know where you went. It felt as though I lost everything." Jack felt a rush of guilt wash over him. He had left without a word, escaping his own demons while hers had only deepened. The air pulsed with unspoken words, revealing a connection that neither had quite managed to sever, despite time and distance. "Melissa," he wanted to offer comfort, to explain his absence, but the crowd buzzed around him, pulling his attention back. Voices calling out for more assistance, children crying. This moment of reconnection felt delicate, like fine glass. "You could help so many people right now," she said, her gaze flickering toward the chaos. "You always had that gift." He shook his head. "I don't know if I still have it. But I want to try. For you, for everyone." She put a hand on his arm, holding him steady. "You are already doing it. Just by being here. Remember our promise to be brave?" Jack nodded, the memory igniting a flame in his chest. They had shared dreams of being a beacon for others, of shining light in dark spaces. This moment was a test, a chance to reignite that spark they once had. "Let us make it count," he said, determination washing over him. He could hear the sirens drawing closer, feel the surge of urgency in the air. With their connection as his anchor, Jack felt he could rise from the wreckage. "Let us find more people to help," Melissa smiled, her spirit flickering back to life. They joined hands, a gesture both healing and empowering. But in the midst of tending to the wreckage, a thought nagged at him. What had Melissa endured all these years? How had she survived in the shadows while he had been finding his way back to himself? Together, they plunged into the chaos of the crowd, Jack leading a new team of young volunteers, while Melissa rallied those who were still too frightened to move. The energy around them shifted, and he felt renewed, inspired by her presence. Then, just as they began to find a rhythm, the air shifted again. A distant shout pierced through the noise, "Someone's trapped. Call for help." Jack's heart dropped. Was their work done? Or was something darker looming just beneath the surface? Together, he and Melissa exchanged a quick glance, a wordless agreement passing between them. They would face this next challenge together, but would what they encounter next bring them closer, or tear them apart for good? The crowd surged around them, each person caught up in the frantic rush of uncertainty and fear. The shout rang again, more urgent now. Jack didn't think he just moved. He gripped Melissa's hand tighter and led her through a tangle of scared faces and debris-strewn streets. "Stay close," he urged, the adrenaline surging through him like electricity. They pushed past volunteers, paramedics, and onlookers. In the chaos, Jack could feel Melissa's presence like a buoy in turbulent waters, grounding him as their hearts raced in unison. They spotted a small group near an overturned car. A woman knelt on the ground, crying out, her hands gripping a child's wrist. Panic filled the air, thick and heavy. Jack's heart ached for them, the pain of desperation palpable. "Help is coming," he shouted, forcing himself to stay calm. "Can you tell me where they are?" The woman nodded shakily, pointing. "He's trapped underneath. Please, help him." Jack turned to Melissa. Her face was set with determination. "We can lift it," she said, her voice steady despite the storm brewing around them. He felt a surge of hope. "Okay," he agreed, his voice firm. They rallied a few volunteers standing nearby, and together, they positioned themselves beside the car. The screams faded into whispers as they focused, the world around them narrowing down to that one singular purpose: save whoever was trapped. With grunts and shouts, they heaved together, muscles straining as the car shifted slightly on its frame. "One more time. On 3. Jack called out, and they counted together, a chorus of resolve echoing through the noise. The metal creaked and groaned, releasing a pinched sob from the trapped boy as they lifted with all their might. Jack felt the strain press against his body, but it paled in comparison to the life-and-death urgency driving them forward. "Come on." Jack grunted, sweat trickling down his brow. They were close, but it took another heave to dislodge the car just enough to free the boy's legs. With a final push, they set the vehicle back down, collectively gasping for breath as they fell back. An awe-filled silence enveloped them, broken only by the boy's frightened whimper. Melissa was the first to leap forward, her instincts kicking in before the thoughts could grapple with her bravery. She crouched beside the small figure, her voice a soothing balm against the panic. "Hey there, it's okay. We've got you now. What's your name?" "Dylan," he stammered, his chest rising and falling rapidly. "Dylan, you're really brave. Help is on the way." Jack reassured, his heart swelling as he saw Melissa being the nurturing presence that had always drawn him to her. In that moment, something shifted. It wasn't just about the rescue anymore, it was a reminder that hope existed in the deepest of despair. As paramedics finally made their way into the scene, a sense of relief washed over Jack. They had done it together. But the moment soon changed. The echo of chaos surged back as sirens wailed louder, urgency rekindling the air. The shadow of uncertainty loomed again. Jack turned to Melissa, his pulse racing. "What about those who haven't made it out?" She met his gaze, her eyes sparkling with defiance. "We'll find them," she insisted, a flicker of fire igniting between them. Together. Their gaze locked in understanding this wasn't over. This moment had thrust them into something bigger than themselves, something that demanded their attention and commitment. But as they squared their shoulders to face the growing crowd, Jack couldn't shake the notion that they were just on the verge of unearthing even deeper fears. The crowd parted, revealing a figure standing alone at the edge, eyes glinting with something sinister. Jack's heart sank. Was this next challenge about to expose more than just their vulnerabilities? Was there more behind this disaster than mere chaos? "Melissa, wait," he began, but the figure took a step forward. It was time to confront what lay ahead. Would they be able to withstand the test? The figure stepped out of the shadows, drawing an unsettling breath. It was a man, disheveled and gaunt, his eyes wild yet calculating. People around them began to shift uneasily, glancing from him to Jack and Melissa, unsure what to make of the moment. "Are you here to help?" Jack asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The man didn't answer immediately. He scanned the chaos behind Jack and Melissa, and for a brief moment, his eyes softened as they flickered to the boy still clinging to Melissa's side, but then, a sneer broke across his lips, and a chilling laugh spilled out, echoing through the noise. "Help?" he spat. "People like you always think they're heroes, so sure you can save the world with a gesture." Jack felt a surge of anger. What's wrong with trying to help? He shot back, stepping forward. "Look around you. This isn't the time for games." The man's eyes narrowed, a mix of contempt and something darker. "You think you're special? That you matter? You don't know what real darkness is." Melissa tightened her grip on Dylan, who had started to tremble. "Leave him alone," she pleaded softly, but her eyes flickered nervously as the man's glare sharpened towards her. Suddenly, he lunged forward, catching Jack off guard. He shoved him back, the force sending Jack stumbling. "Witness the futility of your efforts." The crazed man shouted, arms wide, as if summoning the chaos around them. People began to yell, some backing away, others moving closer with trepidation. Jack regained his footing, shaking the shock from his limbs. Deep down, he felt the weight of that man's words seep in. What if they truly couldn't change anything? What if their efforts were just a whisper against a raging storm? Melissa's presence anchored him. The fear in Dylan's eyes stoked his resolve. "Your fight isn't with us," Jack yelled, fighting to keep his voice from wavering. "It's with the despair surrounding us, not with the people who care enough to face it." The man's expression flickered, just for a moment, as Jack's words cut through. But then, anger flared anew. "You're all cowards. Running from what's real. Just wait, it'll come for you." "Maybe you should be the one to face it," Melissa said, stepping up beside Jack, her voice threading strength through the turmoil. "It's easy to lash out. It's harder to face your own fears. You don't have to do this." For a heartbeat, silence enveloped them, the crowd holding its breath. Jack locked on to that flicker, the moment where doubt took root in the man's eyes. Underneath all that bravado, was there a sliver of vulnerability? He took a breath. "We can all get through this together," Jack urged, slowly moving toward him. "But only if you stop pushing everyone away. You can't keep running." The man wavered for a split second, and Jack seized it. "Help us. If you really want to stand against despair, join us." But before the man could respond, a crashing sound erupted behind them. A small building near the edge of the crowd crumbled, dust flying into the air. Panic surged again. "Jack! Melissa!" A voice cried out from somewhere in the crowd. They turned, faces painted with fear. The instinct to flee clashed with the instinct to save. Melissa grabbed Jack's arm, her eyes pleading. "We need to move." They darted towards the source of the panic, hearts pounding. The man lingered for a moment, caught in the crossroads of uncertainty and resolve. Would he follow them into the fray, or choose to stand amid the chaos weighing down the world around him? As Jack pressed forward, he could feel the fragile threads of hope stitching together the fragments of a broken moment, but just when they thought they could regroup, a new cry echoed from within the rubble. "Help! Someone, please!" And as Jack rushed to answer once more, a chilling thought crept in: what if they weren't fast enough? Jack surged forward, fear ramping up with each step. The jagged edges of the fallen building loomed over him, sharp and menacing. He felt Melissa's presence beside him, urging him on despite her own uncertainty. "Stay close to me, Dylan," she shouted, her voice a beacon in the chaos, as she shielded him from the dust and debris swirling around them. Jack could see hints of movement among the rubble, a shadow shifting, desperately trying to escape. "Help me." The cry was clearer now, a mix of panic and desperation. It flooded Jack with adrenaline. He motioned for Melissa to stay back, kneeling to peer into the wreckage. His heart raced as he scanned for the voice's owner, trying to push aside the weight of doubt pressing down on him. Just then, the crazed man re-emerged from the crowd, his demeanor shifting from hostility to something more alarming. He was no longer an outsider, he was inching closer, and Jack felt a fresh wave of apprehension wash over him. What did he want now? "I'm going to get them," shouted Jack, determination breaking through the tension. He was ready to dive into the debris. "Wait!" The man's voice rang out. "You don't know what you're getting into." "Neither do you." Melissa fired back, still protective of Dylan. Her voice rang with an unexpected strength, echoing Jack's resolve. "But you're right here. Help us." Just then, the ground trembled beneath them, and more dust cascaded down from the shattered structure. Jack extended his arm to the shadow he glimpsed, willing it to reveal itself. "Please. If anyone can hear me, let me know you're alive." A muffled response came, I can't move." The desperation in the voice sent a jolt through Jack. The weight of uncertainty pressed heavily upon him, but he couldn't back down now. He had to believe that they could make a difference, no matter the odds. "What's your name?" Jack called out, crouching lower. "Can you see me?" "Lila," came the strained response. "Please help." He turned to the crazed man who had approached them. "You." Jack pointed, urgency fueling his command. "Do you have any tools? Anything we can use to move the rubble?" The man hesitated, caught in the balance of self-preservation and a flicker of conscience. The crowd around them was a pulsating mass of fear and chaos, and yet, Jack felt the tremors of hope shifting the air. "Why do you care?" The man finally retorted, his bravado faltering for the first time. "This won't change anything, you know." "Maybe not for the whole world," Jack shot back, his voice firm. "But it can change everything for Lila. For Dylan. For every person who deserves another chance." The man's expression shifted, as though he were seeing the wreckage for the first time. Jack's words seemed to penetrate the fog of despair hanging around him. Maybe he wasn't so far gone after all. The man faltered, glancing at the broken and crumbling reality around them. "I can help." And without another moment of hesitation, he turned and sprinted back to the crowd, searching through the chaos for something they could use. Jack's heart thudded in his chest. Lila's faint cries pushed him forward like a current. With Melissa and Dylan behind him, he started to dig, clearing debris as quickly as he could. Each stone he moved sent plumes of dust swirling, and each gasp echoed his fear, but determination drove him on. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed the man returning, tools in hand. Jack felt a rush of gratitude mix with the urgency of the moment. Together, they worked against time, driven by something larger than themselves. Just when a glimpse of Lila's face came into focus amidst the rubble, another ominous rumble shook the ground beneath them. Jack's heart skipped a beat. In that split second, he knew everything could collapse again. "Hold on, Lila. We're almost there," he yelled, dread mixing with hope. But would they be fast enough to reach her before the world fell apart again? The echo of Jack's voice blended with the frantic chaos around him. Adrenaline surged through his veins. With each stone he cleared, he felt a flicker of purpose. The rasp of his breath filled the air, but so did something else, an unyielding resolve from the gathering crowd. They witnessed a transformation, not just in Jack, but in each other, ignited by shared goals. Melissa steadied Dylan beside her, urging him to stay calm. "Hold on tight, Dylan. We're going to save her," she whispered, her voice tight with emotion yet brimming with confidence. Jack took a quick glance toward them, meeting Melissa's gaze and finding strength in her unwavering support, then he turned back, focused, heart racing as he dug deeper. Shadows of doubt whispered, but they were drowned out by the rhythmic chants of the town working together. We're in this together. Let us save Lila. As more hands joined in, hope surged. The tall man, now armed with resolute purpose, swept in beside Jack. What do you need me to do? He asked, his voice lower than before, almost aching. It was a moment of vulnerability. Jack nodded towards the rubble, urgency uniting them. I need that metal beam over there. Help me lift it. They heaved together, and Jack felt the shift. It was no longer just about him but about a community finding its voice, a collective heartbeat echoing through the wreckage. With a fierce grunt, they pushed the beam high enough to reveal Lila's frightened face peering from under a tangle of debris. She gasped, her eyes wide with relief. Jack! She cried, collapsing momentarily against the cold earth, her spirit worn yet unbroken. Lila, we're here. You're safe. Jack shouted, sweat trickling down his brow as he turned back to the people around him. Just a little more. Let us go. More hands flooded in guiding, lifting, pulling. Everything else faded as they forged ahead. Finally, Lila's arm slipped free. Light returned to her eyes. Thank you, thank you. She stammered through tears, her voice barely above a whisper. A wave of relief washed over Jack, flooding his chest with warmth. In that moment, Lila was more than just a rescued child. She was a symbol of the light breaking through the darkness, a living reminder of what community should mean. Cheers erupted from the crowd, and the weight of despair began to lift. Jack watched as Lila was embraced by her mother, their connection solidifying amidst the chaos. It was a moment filled with unspeakable joy, a breath of fresh air that swept over the fairgrounds, but Jack didn't stop there. He turned to the tall man, a tentative smile spreading across his face. See? Together, we made it happen. We can't just step back now. With a hesitant nod, the man unfolded a smile, revealing something real behind those guarded walls. Maybe I should have believed in something more than just my own shadows. The crowd murmured in agreement, seeing their strength reflected in each other's eyes. Jack swallowed, his voice breaking through vulnerability. Each of us is stronger when we stand together. There's a place for all of us in this. Let us lift each other up, now and always. The energy shifted and surged through the air. Heads nodded, a sense of community blossoming anew. Families that had been divided began to draw closer. The fear that had hung over them like a cloud slowly dissipated. Then Melissa stepped forward beside Jack, her presence grounding them both. We came together as strangers, but we're leaving as a family. This community isn't just mine or yours, it belongs to all of us. Her voice rang clear and true, as powerful as the crowd's resolve. People began to gather, forming small circles, sharing their thoughts and dreams freely. Old wounds began to heal as stories poured forth, laughter mingling with vulnerability. The circle widened, drawing in those who had once felt excluded. There was no judgment, only the feeling of acceptance in the air. Jack breathed in the warmth of the moment, feeling the renewed spirit of Walker envelop him. His fears had been buried under layers of connection, those fragile threads had turned into a tapestry of hope. He felt a weight lifted, a bond forming that would carry them all through the toughest of times. As the sun dipped low, casting golden light across the fairgrounds, Jack looked around at the faces bright with laughter once more. He glanced down at Max, who wagged his tail, radiating unfiltered joy. He knew this was just the beginning. He would be here to nurture these connections, help cultivate trust, and fill the gaps left by time and fear. He felt lighter, yet anchored by the realization that healing didn't occur in isolation but through moments just like this one. Together, they would lift one another, a collective force against the challenges life would throw their way. Jack took a deep breath and smiled, a full smile that reached his eyes and danced freely now. This community of Walker was not just his past, they were his present and future. "Let us make sure to always support each other," he said, voice ringing out towards the groups forming around him. "Let us keep this going." Cheers erupted once again, and Jack's heart soared. He attributed this transformation to love, collaboration, and the acceptance of vulnerability. This was just the start of something beautiful together, and the laughter, the joy, the hope all intertwined seamlessly, becoming a new anthem for Walker. Jack knew he had finally come home. If you felt this transformation, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share this journey with your friends. Leave a like now to show us your support. The algorithm relies on you. And comment below with your reactions. We want to hear your feelings about this inspiring conclusion. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this. Your support means the world. We're in this together. Let us continue to uplift one another.